Hello, I'm Gene Rainey, and I'm a Master Gardener for the county. And we're going to show you how to prep your raised beds today to get them ready for the planting season, for vegetable planting season. This happens to have 80 of them, but and they're different sizes. But I would urge you to look at it from the standpoint of what you might do in your backyard or front yard, on your patio or deck. These raised beds can go anywhere. They're inexpensive to build and to put into effect. They're inexpensive to maintain year after year because you don't have to till the ground every year. And also, they're highly, highly productive. They're being used worldwide. It's the current rage of gardening because of the nature of what they do. So let me show you a few of the beds here, and maybe you can get some ideas as to what you might do in your front yard or backyard. Now this is for vegetables, but you can use these for flowers as well. So let's look at some of them. Well, this is a typical raised bed garden. It's 4 feet by 4 feet, and as you can see, 6 inches high. The reason for it being 4 feet by 4 feet is that normally we can reach about 2 feet. So by building it this way, you can walk around this box and reach all the way in. This box happens to be planted with onions, sweet onions. Some of them are coming up. Also, I put soaker hoses in it, which permits me to water it without having to bring water down or spray water on it or something like that. The mix that's in it is composed of several items, usually 3, because it was developed by a man by the name of Mel Bartholomew, and he wrote a book, Square Foot Gardening. It's composed of peat moss, of vermiculite, which is a mixture which absorbs water quite well, compost, and some of us put in potting soil, sacked compost manure, things like that goes in there. Each of the items that go into the mix have its strong points. The peat moss makes it very tillable by hand. Obviously the manure, and I use composted manure in bags, so you don't have to ship it in by a truck. You get it in bags, buy it at the various stores around town. The vermiculite is a mixture that absorbs water, and thus you save water in your square foot garden. But this is a typical square foot garden. They don't have to be 4 feet by 4 feet. This one is. This is what is recommended. This one is made out of wood. Some of them, as you'll see later, are made out of plastic. You can purchase them, or you can buy them and put them together yourself. It's a whole lot cheaper to do that. If you buy them already set up, as this one was, it's easier to do and easier to maintain. The key is it's highly productive. You put the seed in, or you put the bulbs in, and they pop right out in due time, of course. Highly productive. I do not have to till this land each year. It is here to start right away, easy to maintain. In general, it is very productive, especially in these mountains. These are good mountains, but a lot of clay, a lot of clay. And if you're going to build up your soil in the mountains, you're going to have to put a lot into it. So this is inexpensive. You can put these things together for around $25 or $30 each, and they last for at least 5 years, and so you can amortize that out to about $10, $11, $12 a year. And compare that with having to till clay soil every year in your garden. This is a structure that we've just built. It's raised. And the reason I wanted to show it to you, it shows how individuals who are in wheelchairs, handicapped, or in my case, who have a whole lot of trouble bending down. Once you get my age, you have knee and hip replacements and things like this. But this makes it so convenient. We have not put the mixture in this yet. We've just constructed it. It'll be working the same way as the square foot that you saw in the box a minute ago. But I wanted to point out that square foot gardening, raised bed gardening, can be used by older people and handicapped people. This is an example of how you save space in a garden. Obviously, a raised bed 4 feet by 4 feet box saves space in the sense that you just have that much room, which, by the way, we divide into 16 square feet. That's where the square foot garden comes from. So what you want, of course, is for the plants that's going to grow up and have great vines to have a place to go. This is for Kentucky Wonder beans. In Kentucky, where my good wife was born and raised, they use 7-foot poles coming together like a teepee. And when you go to pick the beans, you have to climb up on a ladder. What this does is permit the vines to grow up and over. And all I have to do is walk through here and pick them off. You want to use every inch of your land. It's precious. And this is one way because you're going up and over. Some of your vegetables have long vines on them. Squash, for instance, and cucumbers. This is what we use for cucumbers. The cucumbers are planted. This is not 4 by 4, as you can see, in terms of size of a box. That's really about a 2 by 3 foot box. The cucumbers are planted, they grow up and over. So when you come out to pick them, all you have to do is take them off the top of this vine. You want to use every inch of your garden for production. You can raise anything you want to in these beds in terms of vegetables, also in terms, if you wish, of flowers. These 2 beds here are for corn. We've already planted it. And the corn will get high, and we have ways of supporting it. This is a tomato bed, and the tomatoes will grow up and we'll attach them to the little hoops that we have here. Now, there are some vegetables that have roots deeper than 6 inches, which is what these raised beds are. For instance, carrots, parsnips will go deeper than 6 inches. Now, the way we handle that is that when we put the beds in, before we put the mix, is that we churn up the ground underneath it. Usually it's very heavy in clay. You may have to use a clay breaker. Then you put the mixture on top of it, and usually that takes care of any deep-rooted vegetable that you might have. The only problem that you, or challenge I should say, that might be a better word, that you would have with your vegetables is that you need to have your mixture at a certain, what we call pH level. Now, you can get that by going to the Cooperative Extension Service, getting these boxes and sending them off, and they'll tell you whether or not your soil is already set up to grow vegetables. This soil is automatically part of a good soil pH system or whatever type of system you're worried about. You don't have to worry about different vegetables in them. Now sometimes you have to supplement if you have disease, which is frankly a knowledge beyond what I have right now. But there at the Cooperative Extension Service on Cox Avenue, we can help you solve problems such as different soil types for different vegetables and disease that we might have with them. One of the advantages of a raised bed garden is that it is year-round. We've grown, for instance, kale and collards in this garden up until just a few weeks ago. If you want to, you can cover these hoops with canvas or plastic and protect it from frost or something like that. In terms of when you start, well, we normally think of March as a time to start putting out your peas. Right now, collards, kale, things like that are very much something in demand in raised bed garden. The only thing is, keep good records. It'll show you what will produce, what it's not producing for you. And the next year, because it's so easy to get started early, you don't have to till the ground, the next year you'll be ready to start. With a raised bed, it's there to start immediately, whenever you're ready, and especially when the weather permits you to get into it. Some of us are renters, and I would urge you to think in terms of raised beds wherever you are. If you have a deck or a patio, you can still use raised beds. The only thing you have to watch, of course, are the various vegetables such as carrots and parsnips that go deep. But 6 inches would be enough, especially for tomatoes. You can grow that. But you can put these anywhere. If you're renting, one of the good things about raised beds is that you can take it with you when you move. All you have to do is sack it up again, pick up the form, and cart it to another place. If you're renting, talk about it with your neighbors and also to your landlord. I'm sure he would not mind you having raised beds in his yard or the yard that he owns that you're not renting. The beds need not be 4 by 4. They can be out of the way. They can grow some flowers, make his property look a whole lot better than that. Talk to your landlord and neighbors. Do it as a joint effort. And frankly, there are master gardeners that will be glad to advise you as to how you do this. Let me conclude by saying you can raise whatever your favorite vegetables are. You're looking at parts of 80 raised beds. And so I have every conceivable vegetable that you can think of. If you go into a supermarket, you can see all displayed where we're raising them here. We're raising them because people in this area, in this county, are hungry and need food. So raise enough for yourself, but then raise some for somebody else in need through your religious, civic organization. They can help you do that. I urge you to get started. It's easier than you think. And if you need help, call the Cooperative Extension Service. Your tax dollars support it, so take advantage of it. We can help you in advising you about your vegetables. If you have problems with it, we'll be glad to help.